Marvin looks very robotic and, very methodical in how he's doing things. He doesn't look smooth and comfortable in a lot of the things that I'm seeing him doing.
Kurt, I want you to, already you've done this, but put your QB coaching hat on. You played with a lot of elite receivers. You got a lot of young receivers, right? You mentored Larry Fitzgerald, but then even guys like Steve Breston, early Doucette here in Arizona. Marvin Harrison Jr. is giving himself a really tough time right now. And I'm sure that he doesn't think he's having the kind of year he thought, at least through 3 games. He's beating himself up over it. He's emotional with the media and he wants it, right? He wants it for his team. And for whatever reason, whether it's the offense, whether miscommunication with Kyler Murray or Marv himself, it's like it's not gelling right now. How would you get Marvin Harrison Jr. back on track, knowing with what you've seen him from a collegiate standpoint and then his elite traits at the NFL level?
Yeah. I think what I would do is I would step back and ask myself the question first is, what does he do well right now? Like, where is he excellent right now? And in starting there, I would start to develop my offense, or at least right now, simply around what he does well. Like, the natural thing in this day and age, we can go back to Larry Fitzgerald. And, when I was playing with Larry, there were a number of times where I, go to Todd Haley and I talk with Larry and I'm like, hey, Larry, and if we can move you around and move you inside and do some different things, like, we're going to have better chances to target you and attack a defense. And for the majority of the time I was with Larry, Larry was like, nope, please don't. Leave me outside. I'm more comfortable out there. There's too much going on. It's really fast inside. Just leave me out here. And I'm like, well, Larry, they can double you out. He's like, okay, just leave me out here. So when I do get the right opportunity, I'll be successful out here. And we all know that later in his career, Bruce Arians basically forced him to go inside and said, hey, you're not that guy anymore. You got to go inside. And Larry learned to love playing inside and got comfortable with it. And, had some of his most productive years in those inside positions. But early on, he was very uncomfortable with that. And he didn't think that it played to his skill set. So we left him on the outside where he was very, very comfortable. And in this day and age, right, the natural thing to do is you have this playmaker, move him all over the place, make him, pinpoint him as the main guy in every pass concept so you can get him touches. And that's the first thing that I would ask as a coordinator. I would step back and go, all right, are we trying to ask Marvin to do too many things right now? And, that could be mentally or it could be physically as well. Are we asking him to do things that don't play to who he is as a player right now? And I would answer that question first. And then I would start to, to figure out, okay, if that's the case or what the case is, what does he do well? I'm going to make the majority of routes that I call for him, whether he's the number one guy in the design or not, I'm going to make it things that he's really good at. I'll use a couple examples. Is that first, I'll start with DK Metcalf. I thought when he went to Seattle, they did an unbelievable job of using him the way he needed to be used. In other words, he was a big, fast wide receiver. Don't stop him, right? Don't ask him to run 12 yards and break down and then have to come out of a break real quick because he couldn't do it. Like, his body type wasn't to do that. So if you just plugged him into your offense and that was part of your offense, he wasn't going to be as successful. Run him on go routes, run him on in-breaking routes, run him on shallow routes. Get that big sucker on the move with the ball in his hands and make them tackle him. Don't overcomplicate it for him because this is what he's really good at. And still to this day, those are the things he's best at, is not stopping and starting, keeping him on the move and getting him the ball moving. I could say the same thing about Steve Breston. Steve Breston was a 1,000-yard receiver in this league.
Right.
And Steve was very much the same type of guy. He wasn't, a big, strong guy. He wasn't necessarily great at breaking down and coming fast out of his routes. So we did the same things with him. We kept him on the move. We knew the things that he did well, and we played to the strengths that when he was in a position, it was like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be the guy that runs the deep posts. You're going to be the guys that run shallows for us because he was great with the ball in his hands, right? He was a great returner for us. Get the ball into his hands and let him make guys miss. But we didn't stop him and start him a lot. That wasn't his game. And so we took a guy that, I mean, never really had that same sort of success outside of, when he was with us, and made him 1,000-yard receiver because we played to his strengths. And, right now to me, Marvin looks very robotic and, very methodical in how he's doing things. He doesn't look smooth and comfortable in a lot of the things that I'm seeing him doing. And so, I'm not around him every day to know exactly what the things are that I look at and go, man, he does that really well, and he does that really well. But that's how I would go about it from this point. If I've got to leave him out as my ex-receiver, like we left Larry, and say, we're going to keep you over here, and you are going to run 5 routes in the route tree that we think you excel at. And we're going to keep you over there. And I know, we might not get you targeted 12 times a game. But my hope is when we target you, it's 5 or 6 times, and it's doing things that you do well. So you have success, we have success, and we're gaining confidence as a unit, knowing, hey, when we go to Marvin, he's going to make that play. He's going to feel confident and comfortable making that play. And now maybe I'm way off. Maybe he's very comfortable doing everything that they're asking him to do, moving all over, playing in the slot, playing outside. And maybe, that's not a thing. But it looks to me like a thing. It doesn't look to me like he's fully comfortable playing and playing fast and playing reactionary football. And so that would be the perspective that I take, even if it limits our ability to target or focus on him. I need him to make the play and be a difference maker when we decide to go to him. Mm-hmm. And, in the meantime, the great thing is that we've got Marvin, right? But he doesn't have to be our go-to guy. That go-to guy has become Trey.
Yeah.
He's that guy. And he's got a great feel, and him and Kyler have a great feel for each other. So now I've got another guy that I can make kind of the focal point, right? And I'll go back to our team, right? I had Q. I had Anquan. Anquan was my underneath guy. He was that second level guy. He wasn't the take the top off a guy, but we could use him to complement Larry. So now we put Q and Larry on the same side and say, okay, now what do you want to do, guys? You want to try to double somebody. You want to try to do, okay, we got both guys over there. So we'll design our concept to Q, and we'll allow Larry to be the complementary piece. And now it's pick your poison. And so that's how we developed that offense at the time. It wasn't just Q over here, Larry over here. They're our go-to guys, and we're going to ask him to do – no. We built an offense around, when it was Larry's thing, he was the primary on a concept. When it was Q's thing, he was the primary. But then the other guy was the complementary piece. So you take away the primary, boom, we're coming right back to the other guy who's a stud also. And so it's starting to build things that way around the strengths. So you've got a good playmaker. You've got a guy that can change the game for you as the focal point, but it might not always be Marvin Harrison right now. It might be one of those other guys or specifically Trey.